Hi, and welcome to Spark-Start TA Leader Series, where we have the privilege of talking to leading people in the field about what they're thinking about, what questions they're asking, what observations they've got. And today I'm thrilled to have a longtime friend of mine, Mike Bruni, with us. Mike, would you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Yeah, thank you, Maury, and thanks again for having me on. As mentioned, my name is Mike Bruni. I have been in this talent acquisition, human capital game probably for the last 30 years. My background has primarily been obviously in talent acquisition across mostly the national security industrial base. I also have spent time inside the federal government and the intelligence community. So my specialty and my area of focus is typically in that particular industry. However, have worked across markets, geographies, as well as industries over the course of my career. Consider myself a talent acquisition geek, guru. Love everything talent acquisition, and I sort of live and drink and breathe this stuff, on a daily basis. So it's actually not just a job; it's actually a passion.
And Mike, you've been sort of on both sides of the desk. You've worked in recruiting, you're now consulting, so you get to see a lot of different situations, perspectives. Everybody today is talking about AI. From where you sit, what are your observations on how AI is impacting recruiting, pros, cons? What are your thoughts on that?
I appreciate a great question. So it's interesting, today as you look out, if you're following the headlines, if you're reading the blogs, it's dominated by AI this, AI that, automation. Where is it taking us? Is it going to wipe us all out of jobs? And for the last 3 years, since generative AI has really hit the scene, has actually come out, I've really followed this very, very closely. And yes, I think there's a lot of upside, there's a lot of benefits to artificial intelligence, whether that's generative AI, agentic AI, as we're now talking about, some of these enterprise solutions. But really, I want to get back to recruitment in general. One of the questions, and I interview a lot of recruiters on a regular basis, so I get a lot of insight. So daily, I'm talking to candidates, I'm talking to recruiters, I'm talking to clients on a daily basis. And I really often I'm looking and analyzing what really works in talent acquisition as a profession. And although I think, is a great support system, I haven't seen where it's actually dominating or taking over. But really, what I really want to focus on is we as recruiters and as talent acquisition professionals. I really have a problem with people thinking that it's going to, wipe us out, wipe out our profession. I think there needs to be more of a focus on our profession, more defining what our profession is. I have my own networking group here in Northern Virginia. It's a topic we talk about a lot. Uh, have we defined what talent acquisition is? Is recruitment a true profession? And I think we as a community, as a profession, as a discipline, really need to start looking at that more regularly as opposed to, hey, AI, we're going to source it out to AI or AI is going to take us over. I truly believe that recruitment is a human function. It's a human game. I look at AI, I use AI on a daily basis, but AI only really augments some of the administrative work that I do, whether it's aggregating and sourcing or whatnot. At the end of the day, my success really hinges on my relationship with my clients, my candidates, and my peers and my coworkers. That's ultimately what it's going to do. I haven't seen any evidence where AI and automation is going to, replace that. Even thinking about the advancements going forward. So I think one of the conversations that I hope we continue to have as a profession is the focus on the human side of talent acquisition. And what do I mean by that? It's not necessarily just the sourcing and the automation. It's the actual engagement and relationship. It's getting away from a transactional function and making this a true profession, right? The engagement, the relationship building. What I mean by relationship is I don't mean that we're going to become best friends. I think by relationship, it's a matter of rapport. It's rapport development. I've been doing it for 30 years, right? I still deal with the same people today that I've dealt with 20, 30 years ago. And the reason is it's rapport building. It's knowing your industry. It's knowing your disciplines. It's knowing your clients, knowing your targets. AI is not going to do that for you. AI is not going to replicate that. No matter how much you believe it's going to, it's not going to. It's not going to replicate the human element within recruitment. It's what's always made us successful, and I think that'll continue to make us successful. AI will certainly change the way that we do things, no question. I think it already has. But really, what Maury, I'm just not seeing where we're putting this focus on developing the real promising talent that we have in the recruiting profession. I'm not seeing that. I'm not really seeing it in any industry. I'm not seeing where there's growth in the human element. We've seemed to be talking about AI in general as it's going to dominate most of our profession. I'm just not a believer in that.
Well, Mike, one of the things that I think as you talk about we need to define recruiting as a profession and so forth, I think we need to do a better job with our language and talking about recruiting. I think that the places that we've seen some real advancements with AI tends to be in high volume, low skill or essentially no skill jobs where you need a human to throw packages onto a conveyor belt, right? Those individuals are fairly interchangeable, and the human element there isn't nearly as important as when you get to a senior level person or a high technical skill or someone who's critical to a management team. There is where I think what you're talking about, and it's not just the high-end search, but really understanding what parts of recruiting. We use recruiting to talk about everything from hiring an hour of manpower to do an indiscriminate job to finding a very senior executive who's critical to strategic success of a company. I hope that recruiters start to do a better job talking about recruiting in a much more precise language so that they can really shine at the places they need to shine. Right now, it's such a broad brush that this idea, oh, AI can do everything that, recruiters do. If they're talking about high volume, AI can probably do a lot of it. But if you're talking about critical hires, I'm not sure AI can do much of it. Maybe some sourcing, but even then, it's not as neat. Do you agree with that?
And it's that you mentioned it, and yes, I've seen a lot of the evidence where high volume, and certainly AI, I think does it brings a lot of value in a lot of areas, but particularly in high volume. I always look at this as define the risk. What
Mhm.
is the risk in hiring? And I am not downplaying high volume staffing. I've done it. It's a hard job, but there's less risk in hiring the wrong person to work the floor at Home Depot, with all due respect, as opposed to hiring, let's just say, someone in national security that's going to be put in a position of responsibility that could be life or death. There's a huge difference there.
Right.
So, from a human element, yes, you have to be able to actually use that type of judgment of where to apply automation as opposed to where the human element and the human needs to be plugged in. One of the things, and I know we have a condensed timeline here, but one of the
Yeah.
things I do want to point out, because I look at this a lot, the majority of the marketing, the majority of the investment in our industry always tends to be geared towards the reactive recruiting, advertising, marketing, right? Programmatic marketing, automation. That's all important stuff. But it's interesting because organizations tend to hire based on networking, referrals, and engagement. I've always seen that separation very disturbing, in my opinion, because there's so much emphasis on marketing and reactive and posting jobs, as opposed to defining what it is that we actually really need and how do we actually pursue that? How do we pursue? How do we engage? How do we persuade? How do we influence? That's what I mean about a profession. That's where I'm not seeing. I don't see that. There's been some good pieces over the years that I've seen, some really good professionals around the world develop in some, but not enough. I would like to
Yeah.
see not the focus of AI is going to take us over. I'd like to see us actually focus on the development of very promising talent. Because at the end of the day, people are selecting jobs. It's a lifestyle decision. It's not something, in my personal opinion, quite frankly, very few people are going to allow an algorithm to dictate the job that they're going to accept. I'm sorry, I can't come to grips with that. I just don't think I'm going to, while I'm paying a mortgage, paying kids tuition, I'm going to actually change my lifestyle or my livelihood based on what an algorithm or a conversational AI component is going to tell me. That human element has to be intact. Not only has to be intact, have to be very proactive in the way that we do it. And we've really got to get serious about this because honestly, we should not be having the conversation of whether AI is going to take our jobs, right? Because every time I hear that, I always tell the recruiters that say that, ask yourself, what value are you currently bringing to the profession, to yourself, and to the organization or client that you're supporting? Because that's what you really have to ask, and then put that into perspective. Because I think if we do really focus on what really matters and what really actually drives us towards success, I think we'll stop talking about AI. Don't get me wrong. I know there's a lot of money in it. There's a lot of investment, and there's obviously a lot of good in it. But it seems to be overshadowing what I feel is the most important, ingredient to success in our business.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll find the places where we add productivity and take away some of the more remote, or mundane aspects, and let people use the intellect that they bring to it. Mike, I think you and I could talk about this all day, and you and I have from time to time had long conversations. If people want to engage more, are you open to them reaching out on LinkedIn? Can they reach out to you if they want to have more conversation around this?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, this is my passion, so I'm always up for these conversations. This is something obviously that always gets my attention. Absolutely. Feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Great, wonderful. Well, thanks for joining us, Mike. Really appreciate the conversation. Thanks. Goodbye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.